Hey everyone, it's Brad the Mechanic here. Today, working on a 2008 Volkswagen Rabbit. We're going to do rear brakes on it. Seems like it would be pretty straightforward. There's a couple extra things that we'll have to do. First things first, let me get this bit here. So, this is a 14 millimeter bit here, and let me show you the package I got here. There we go, triple square, 14 millimeter. Okay, so you're gonna need that in order to get this job done. I found a set for 20 something bucks, so you could probably find just this one, just a 14 mil, but make sure it's a 14 before you get started. So that comes off with a screwdriver. Pop this off, and these are actually 17 mils. This one has a wheel lock on it, and the key looks like this. This is also 17 mil. So this is gonna go in there, and then we'll get this wheel off. All those wheel studs will pop right out. Alright, well, my battery died in the thing, so I'm going to have to get the breaker bar. Pure Michigan. Oy. We got those off. Now I'll get them the rest of the way out. For the rotor, before we get it all the way taken apart, I've got to take this off. This is a T30. Sometimes you have to get the hammer bit in there, but usually these will come out by hand. Now that we got the rotor off, in order to get to the caliper bracket bolts, like this, the caliper will come off right here, but the bracket bolts are back here. So this is a 21 and a 21. Get a wrench on here and get your impact. Zip this off. Then get this bolt out, and this will come up and give you room to get back here a lot easier to remove the caliper bracket bolts, which are that M14 stupid ass 12-point socket or a bit that goes back here. So we're going to start by taking this off and removing the caliper, which is, I actually found these are actually 1/2 inch on here. I don't know if they were replaced or whatever, but these are 1/2 inch for me. The 13 was a little bit too big, so I got a little set of needle nose pliers because my wrench is too fat to fit in here. So I got some needle nose vice grips, and I hold it here, and then I remove these because they actually are pretty tough to come out because they have a little bit of Loctite on them that makes it so they don't just come out. So get something to hold that right there, and then spin these out. Get this off, get it out, and we'll be able to reach back here. So I got the bolts off, and now I'm having to pry it out a little bit. Get the screwdriver right in here and pry out, and then you can come this way and get this off because you're going to have to screw the piston back in. So we're going to get these brake pads out. Foobard. Spooked. Sometimes if you're not going to replace these, make sure you don't fuck them up too much. These shims here. So we got this off, and this piston is going to have to be twisted in to the right. And what you do is you get your special tool like this. These are $5–10 bucks. You get on the end of your extension, and then you put it, let's see if I can show it to you. So see those two marks? These go in there and then you spin this, and it spins the piston back in there. If you absolutely have to, you can grab this with pliers and spin it in. It's not the best way because you can rip this boot, but you can do it if you had to. So that's what I'm going to do next. So got to get it just in the right spot, so that both of the tabs go into the holes. Can be a pain sometimes. There we go. And you got to be pushing on it pretty good to get it to spin. All right. Get this one in there. Get this one on there. And then you just start spinning it. This one's gonna be fun, but you got to make sure it's straight, unless it won't spin. So yeah, keep working at it. So then you get it nice pushed in until it's flush. Then you'll know you'll be able to get the pads in there. So now we're going to grab that T14, come around back here, and well, actually I'm going to get this 21 mil off first, and then we'll be able to get back there. Alright, so I got the impact on there, 21. We're going to zip this off here. So down here there's a wheel speed sensor that you'll want to get out. I get my pick up in here and pry up, and it'll pop right out. So I got the ratchet in like there. Same thing for the bottom. You might have to lift up the car a little bit, but you can get them both this way to loosen them. Alright, so we got this lifted up. We got those two bolts out. Now we can pull the bracket off. And the rotor looks like it's just going to come off without even having to smack it. So what I'm going to do now is please don't let your rotors get like this. This is stupid. It should never get that bad. That is neglect. So what I'm going to do now is grab my wire brush. I'm going to clean this hub off all the way around. And then I'm going to, so let's get this clean really fast. It's not really that bad. Okay, so one thing you got to do is make sure before you throw the rotors on that you clean them very well, because you can't have any oil or grease or anything that's on there in between the brake pads and the mating surface of the rotor. So make sure you're cleaning it up, especially make sure the rag's clean too. Get some brake clean, go over it, make sure there's no marks or anything. And then when you go to put it on, make sure you're not touching the mating surfaces. So then you can take here, get the rotor, and you can see the little hole for the screw that holds the rotor on there. Get it lined up so that it's just right. Well, this one isn't going to sit just right this second, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this set screw here and I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on it, and then I'm going to put it in here and get it on to hold the rotor. So then it'll make our lives a little easier when we're putting on the caliper and everything like that. Got to make sure that it's all straight. I'm going to put this in there, get it started. Always start by hand. And I'm not even going to tighten this that much. I like to have it just barely tight enough to do its job and no more, because they'll get stuck in there. And you really don't want them to get stuck. So there we go. Got that in there and tight. This is all good. All these holes are lined up with this where the wheel studs are going to go. So now we're going to clean this up, get the brake pads put in it. We're going to take these out here. You got to take these out and re-grease them, okay? So it's super important to do this part of the job, because if you don't, it's going to end up screwing you over in the future, because these, if these get stuck, it'll cause premature brake wear, and you don't want to have to do that, because, or you don't want to have to deal with that, because then you have customers coming back or whatever, or your car is messed up. So I'm going to make sure I get these nice and greased with some synthetic brake grease. Sometimes you have to clean these rods or these pins off in order to make them work correctly, because these have to float. These have to be able. These have to have. They have to be able to slide in there, because if they don't, it'll make the pads wear in the wrong way. So if you don't have new shims that come with your brake pads, which I don't think these ones do. The guy got these are probably the cheapest pads he could find. Got these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and I'm going to clean them with the wire brush really well. If they were in worse condition, you'd probably want to make sure you replace them. But since I don't have any to replace it with, I'm going to put just a little bit of grease on it, not a lot, just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to set these brake pads in there. And then we can get this bracket installed onto the vehicle. So let's get these brake pads. So one thing you're going to want to do, sometimes you got to put them in at an angle like this and then flip them. But you're going to want to get them in there, get them started, and you're going to want to make sure that they're not binding up inside. Because if they bind up, it's not good, and it can cause premature brake wear. So we're going to get these in here, make sure that they're not bound up or anything like that. And I'm going to get the other side in. We're going to, first of all, make sure we're not touching the brake pad with our greasy fingers. Just trying to get the edge here. So then we'll get this side in here and get it turned, get it to slide in. See, this one's came in at a little bit of an angle, so we're going to have to try a little bit. There we go. So we got these in there. Now we're going to, first I'm going to make sure these pads will slide nice, and then we're going to throw it on the car here. So I took the caliper bolts and I put some anti-seize on them, because these bad boys were in there. So yeah, so I got that on there. I'm going to move this to the side. We've already loosened this caliper, or pushed the piston back. We've got the brake pad or caliper bracket loaded and greased, and now we are going to set it back on the vehicle on the wheel here. Make sure we're getting it all lined up just right. This thing's going to be kind of a pain in the ass, but so we'll get these lined up and get these bolts in. So you just got to kind of look from the back and adjust it until you kind of feel it go in, and you'll know, because it'll start threading these in. You don't want to have to bang them in or anything like that. You'll fuck some shit up doing that. So see, you heard it, it kind of like goes in there. So I'm going to get these tight. It's going to be that M14 bolt or a bit that's going to make these go in. So I'm going to get those tight, and after that I'm going to install this caliper so that we can get the thing rolling. So now that we got the caliper bracket on there, whoop, we got the two M14s in there tight. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but we got them. So now we're going to put the bolt through for this 21 mil and get this upper control arm attached to the knuckle. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I had to jack the wheel up a little bit, or this, had to jack the whole control arm up a little bit just to get it to go through. There it is. You got to put this washer on. Make sure you do. Then the nut. Sometimes you have to make sure the nut or the bolt isn't pushed all the way in before you start tightening it. Also, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, back here, I'm going to put this right back onto here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a clip here. I'm going to push this here. Then I'm going to push this down, going to the left, and then I'm going to take this plug. I'm going to plug it down into the wheel speed sensor where it was before. Now that that's there, I'm going to tighten this bolt with the 21 wrench, which I think I used the box end last time. Yeah, I did. And then we'll tighten this. I'm going to have to flip this upside down like I did before. So that's nice and tight. So now we'll take this caliper, put it back on. Sometimes you got to push those pins in, the slide pins that are back here, in order to get this thing to go on. So after that, we will put our two 1/2 inch or 13 mil bolts back in here. And we'll get those tight, and you should be, all you got to do is get the wheel on, put the wheel studs in there and tighten it down. Take it for a test drive. Make sure you pump the brakes a few times before you take off. Give the caliper a little bit of time to push in. And then in order to do the other side, just do exactly what I did there one more time. But yeah, so you don't have to like or subscribe. What I really care about is you fixing your shit. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead, leave them. But yeah, have a good one, and see you next time.